So there you have the latest geopolitical updates from tarpley.net, but we now move into holy hexes, as I recently had to add another category to all the bizarre occult religious news going on, getting it mainly from a couple of mainline sources, but through their religious feed. So on CNN, it's called Belief Blog. I think Reuters calls theirs Faith World. But here we have on Belief Blog, Rabbi Eckstein on why evangelical Christians give millions to Israel, and there's a video for it. We don't have time, but let's take the quote from him, and this may break it down for folks who sometimes don't get it. God promises Abraham, those who bless Israel and the Jewish people will be blessed, and those who curse them will be cursed, he says, citing the book of Genesis. But it's not only that religious commandment that is motivating this very large segment of American society. Evangelicals see the creation of Israel in 1948 as the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. That's why, in the last 12 months alone, evangelical Christians in the U.S. have given over $100 million to charitable causes in Israel. The other note from Belief Blog in our Holy Hex updates: can you believe in Bigfoot and the Bible? That's one of the questions that aroused the curiosity of three sociologists who wanted to examine the religious values of believers in the paranormal in their book, Paranormal America: Ghost Encounters, UFO Sightings, Bigfoot Hunts, and Other Curiosities in Religion and Culture. The authors asked if religious people are more prone to believe in the paranormal. This fits perfectly with what we've talked about, what we just covered on Cyberspace War, the alien prep, this Project Bluebeam, fake Rapture, fake War of the Worlds, Orson Welles, Princeton event, staged. Is that what we saw in 1013? Is that everything the controlled corporate media and all their related complexes are pushing? Setting the stage for the death of your God, who hasn't done anything or shown up anytime recently. Nobody believes anymore. We need a new event that the world can unite around. And of course, now they're even overlaying the global warming scam to the alien agenda. Just bizarre things that, again, as I was talking about folks saying, why do you talk about the alien stuff? I can't not talk about the alien stuff now. It's so fucking apparent. Let's get into the amazing list of media memes, and we'll return to another one from VigilantCitizen.com asking if Willow Smith will be the next Illuminati star. Willow Smith, of course, being the offspring of the Scientology-connected Will Smith. A lot of amazing photos. They're basically grooming him under Jay-Z, Rihanna, and all of these other artists whose music and imagery and videos and everything they do seems surrounded by occult symbolism. An interesting one from HenryMako.com. Rock rebels the Clash as corporate puppets. Now, this gets into an interview with a guy, what's his name? Vince White. He was one of the fill-in guys who came in towards the end when they put out their Cut the Crap album, that some notes should be called Full of Crap. While this is interesting because of the pull quote, I believe there's an agenda at work in the system in which we live which will always say, you do this or we won't support you. So that comment was like, oh, good, here's a dude from a major rock band who saw it from the inside and who's calling bullshit. But when you get into the interview, let's just pull from, quote, and I'm not fucking joking, and let me just say, I don't like the Chinese. I don't like their fat, ugly faces. I wish they'd fucking fuck off. But he goes on to talk about the New World Order, open door policy, globalism, all of those things. So I always throw out, and again, I don't think longtime listeners would ever kind of make this mistake. Just because I add a link to something doesn't mean I endorse it wholeheartedly. I'm trying to give you a good spectrum of things. But as this case illustrates, the headline can be deceptive. It could be something you go, hey, yeah, and then you look, oh. Shark-infested waters, indeed. Two of the hosts walked off of The View over Bill O'Reilly's Islamic Center comments. That got a lot of press. Of course, not even approaching when they were actually discussing hardcore issues such as 9/11 Truth. That gave them their biggest media boost. Now everything else kind of pales in comparison. Oh my God, Bill O'Reilly said something dumb. Obama administration gave General Electric and NBC $24.9 million in stimulus grants. More on that from CNSnews.com. Die Hard director John McTiernan sentenced to a year in prison. We've covered this story way back in the past. The flashback goes back to April of 2008. But just a few days ago, and again we take it from New York Magazine, filmmaker John McTiernan, Die Hard, Hunt for Red October, was sentenced to a year in prison for lying to authorities about his involvement in the Anthony Pellicano wiretapping scandal, which will put a crimp in his plans to direct the next action thriller, Shrapnel. The conviction stems from a 2002 incident where McTiernan hired notorious private investigator Pellicano to wiretap producer Charles Rosen during McTiernan's remake of Rollerball. The director then lied about the illegal activity during a 2006 FBI investigation. The bizarre connection, this ties to Aaron Russo, the late, great Aaron Russo, producer of films like Trading Places and The Rose, Arm Wrestling Championship inventor, and in his last remaining years, woke up hardcore, spoke out against this beast system, New World Order agenda, fascist corporate takeover, call it what you want. He was connected to Rockefellers. They told him what was coming down. You're going to get a card. It'll be basically your chip. If you're one of us, you're good. Tied in with McTiernan and Pellicano and Rosen and all of this Hollywood gangster garbage, they were going to kill Aaron Russo. Now, I'm not sure if John McTiernan also directed any of the Die Hard sequels. Of course, Die Hard with a Vengeance sure has an amazing story that seems to mirror the events of 9/11, but we don't have time to get into that. Washington Times reporting soul music pioneer Solomon Burke has died at the age of 70. And a bunch of other amazing, entertaining, bizarre media memes. Daily Mail reporting on Carrie Fisher's drug shame. I did coke on the set of Empire Strikes Back. That's right, Princess Leia did coke on the ice planet of Hoth. The snow. Yes. Now, this next one I only included just because I was always such a huge Back to the Future fan. They're putting out the big Blu-ray edition, and finally, on this, they showing footage after, because this is the 25th anniversary, finally showing footage of Eric Stoltz as the original Marty McFly, finally seeing the light of day. There is a clip along with this Yahoo story that, again, was kind of amazing to see. I've known that story for a long, long time, but they never let any of it out. Gorillaz says no to Glee before the show even asks. The fantastic Damon Albarn of Blur, and The Good, the Bad, and the Queen, and Deltron 3030, and Lovage, and Gorillaz, basically calls out the show for the vapid pop covers that won't matter. Our last media meme note. When my girlfriend and I watched the episode Sunday night, as I have for 22 years, it originally was Thursday, but it's been Sunday for the longest time now. When I watched the new episode of The Simpsons, the opening couch gag made our jaws drop.
He's renowned for leaving his mark almost everywhere he goes, but now the graffiti artist Banksy has left his mark on the intro of The Simpsons. Not only is his tag sprayed on various walls in Springfield, at the end there's also a rather dark minute-long sequence involving sweatshop workers. The whole thing's caused a bit of controversy too, because Banksy's intro was apparently inspired by reports the show now outsources most of its animation to a company in South Korea. This particular episode of The Simpsons, called Money Bart, will air in the UK on October the 21st.
Rows of workers are seen in a warehouse producing animation for the show and making merchandise. Kittens are shown being thrown into a wood chipper to produce stuffing for Bart Simpson dolls. A panda is used to haul wagon loads of the dolls, while a decapitated dolphin head is used to seal the boxes, and a chained-up unicorn comes in handy for punching holes in the center of DVDs. Now, they mention this came from these reports that they outsourced the animation. All you got to do is listen to any of the commentary on any of the DVDs, and they'll tell you they outsource it all to Korea. Fascinating, and again, it's one of my favorite shows. I've loved it ever since it's been on. But as you get older, you start to realize maybe its importance or maybe its lack of importance as things slowly morph and change, and you can see the bizarre sort of New World Order overlay storylines in The Simpsons. I've been wanting for a long time to make a Simpsons YouTube clip going into just all of the amazing storylines and connections, whether it's the episode about running urban warfare drills, or of course the movie is replete. Biometric eye scans and false flag terror and man-made environmental disasters, but we got to keep moving. Murder and mayhem. Department of Justice lawyer was found hanging in his basement. I believe his name is Nicholas Marsh. Another suspicious death. Swedish man used webcam to broadcast his suicide live on the internet. That's from Wikinews. And gunman has been identified in the San Diego area's Carlsbad school shooting.
It happened during recess as children played in this field, when police say this man, Brendan O'Rourke, jumped the fence, armed with a .357 Magnum. Witnesses say he began spraying the area with bullets as he carried matches and a gas can.
And he was just shooting at kids, and at least 5 shots went off.
Shooting randomly into the crowd of children. I immediately screamed, no.
Witnesses say O'Rourke emptied his gun as children scattered to safety. 2 female students, ages 6 and 7, were struck, but not fatally. It was then 3 construction workers at the school